Aquarius, this week asks you to revisit the past without moving back into it. The Six of Cups is your card, and it carries memories, familiarity, innocence, old relationships, former versions of yourself, and the emotional textures that can make yesterday feel safer than the present. For you, the question is not whether the past matters. It does. The question is what role it should have now. The cosmic weather for this reading is intentionally quiet. No verified astrological events or housemap transits were supplied for August 26th through September 1st, so I will not invent a transit narrative around your week. The Six of Cups becomes the full symbolic framework, asking you to treat memory as a source of information rather than an address. Your card is the Six of Cups. This card can be sweet, but nostalgia is not always simple. Memory edits. It highlights some details and softens others. It can remind you of who you were before life became complicated, but it can also tempt you to romanticize circumstances you had good reasons to leave. The Six of Cups is healthiest when it allows you to retrieve something valuable without surrendering your present-day discernment. Your central thesis is, the past is a resource, not a residence. In love, this card may turn your attention toward familiar patterns. If you are partnered, notice whether an old dynamic is showing up in the relationship. Perhaps you fall into a childhood role when conflict appears: caretaker, rebel, peacemaker, invisible one, problem solver. Your partner may trigger something that began long before they entered your life. That does not excuse harmful behavior from anyone, but recognizing the older pattern can help you respond to the present instead of only reacting from the past. The Six of Cups can also remind couples to recover simple forms of affection. Not every relationship problem is solved through another serious conversation. Sometimes connection needs play, memory, music, food, an old place, a shared joke, or an activity that reminds you why being together felt good before life became administratively heavy. Reconnection is not avoidance when the difficult subjects are still being handled. If you are single, an old person or an old type may occupy mental space. Before interpreting familiarity as destiny, ask what has actually changed. Missing someone does not automatically mean the relationship should return. Sometimes you miss the version of yourself that existed around them. Identify what quality you are really longing for and see whether it can be brought into your current life in a healthier form. In work, the Six of Cups can point toward forgotten skills, former interests, old contacts, or methods that once worked. Review your own history. What did you know how to do before your work became more complicated? What project did you abandon because timing was wrong rather than because the idea was bad? There may be value in retrieval, but the card does not ask you to copy the past exactly. Update what you recover. This is also a useful card for mentorship. Think about someone who helped you earlier in your development, or someone who could benefit from what you now know. Knowledge becomes richer when it moves across time. A simple message of thanks, a recommendation, or a piece of guidance can reconnect you with the lineage of your own growth. With money, nostalgia can influence spending. You may want to buy something because it recreates a feeling, childhood comfort, a former lifestyle, a memory of abundance, or a time when choices felt simpler. There is nothing inherently wrong with sentimental spending, but name the feeling before paying for the object. Sometimes the memory can be honored more directly and less expensively. The positive financial message is to review what used to work. Did you once have a simple budgeting habit, meal routine, savings transfer, or purchasing rule that helped? You do not need a completely new system if an older one can be updated. For health and energy, the Six of Cups asks you to remember what forms of movement, rest, food, music, or recreation once made you feel naturally alive. Not everything supportive needs to be optimized. Maybe you liked walking without tracking it, dancing without calling it exercise, drawing without trying to monetize it, or spending time outside without turning it into a performance. Retrieve one uncomplicated source of vitality. For your week day by day, use the days as a sequence for conscious retrieval rather than a prediction. On Wednesday, choose one memory that has been returning lately. Write what you miss about it, then underline the quality rather than the person or circumstance. Maybe you miss freedom, belonging, creativity, tenderness, adventure, or simplicity. On Thursday, ask how that quality could exist in your current life without recreating the old situation. If you miss belonging, perhaps you need community now, not a return to an old relationship. If you miss creativity, perhaps you need an hour with an old hobby. On Friday, contact the past only if the contact serves the present. Send a kind message, look through old work, revisit a recipe, listen to an album, or call someone you genuinely value. Do not reopen a door solely because nostalgia made the room behind it look brighter. On Saturday, do something your younger self loved that still feels healthy now. Give the activity adult resources but keep its original simplicity. Let enjoyment exist without needing to become productive. On Sunday, notice one old story about yourself that no longer fits. Maybe you were once shy, chaotic, overly responsible, emotionally unavailable, or the person who always left first. You are allowed to remember that version without continuing to perform it. On Monday, bring one recovered strength into a current problem. Use an old skill in a new context. Ask what a previous version of you knew that your present self has become too sophisticated to remember. On Tuesday, decide what stays in the archive and what comes forward. You do not need to carry every memory simply because it is meaningful. Choose one quality, one lesson, or one connection worth keeping active. Your 3 journal prompts are these. First prompt: what do I truly miss when I say I miss the past, the person, the place, or the feeling I had there? Second prompt: which younger version of me had a strength or joy that I would benefit from reclaiming now? Third prompt: what familiar pattern feels comforting but no longer belongs in the life I am building? For your weekly guidance, create an updated memory ritual. Choose one old joy that is still healthy for you, a song, recipe, game, hobby, place, book, creative practice, or tradition. Revisit it once this week, but deliberately change one element to reflect who you are now. Cook the old meal with your current taste. Return to the hobby with better tools. Visit the place with a new companion. Play the old music while writing a new plan. The exercise teaches your mind that honoring the past does not require freezing it. There is a deeper Six of Cups lesson about innocence. Aquarius, experience can make you proud of being hard to surprise. You may value intellectual independence and the ability to see through sentimentality. But healthy innocence is not ignorance. It is the willingness to encounter something without forcing it to confirm every disappointment you have already survived. You can know more and still be open. At the same time, protect yourself from selective memory. If you are tempted to return to a person, place, or pattern, remember the full story. What was beautiful? What was difficult? Why did it change? Nostalgia becomes wisdom when it can hold both tenderness and accuracy. The past can be a library. Visit it. Study it. Borrow what is useful. Return what no longer belongs in your hands. You do not need to burn the library down to move forward, and you do not need to sleep there to prove that the books mattered. Aquarius, this week invites a reunion with something genuine inside you. Not necessarily a reunion with someone else. Recover the quality you thought time had taken, update it, and let it become part of your present identity. Your weekly affirmation is, I honor where I have been, reclaim what still nourishes me, and let the present become more than a repetition of the past. Carry that with you through September 1st. Subscribe so your next weekly reading is waiting for you. Trust the timing. The stars have spoken.